Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new flip-through video, and this one is for New York in October of 2025. This is the album I'm using. It was very fall themed, and because we're there at the end of October, so it was perfect. So I wanted to use this one. This is from Echo Park, and then we can jump right in. One thing I do want to say is on this trip, I did one day in New York City, and then the rest of the time I was going up to Maine, and then I stayed there until Sunday morning. So I really only had one day in NYC. And because I'm there so much, I didn't feel like I needed to do process videos for all of these. So that's why it's just a flip through of this one day. Then when I move on to the Maine stuff, I am planning to do videos of those. But for this, New York, just a flip through. So as you can see, I decided to go with a 3x8 opening page this time. And I had some paper that was patterned to look like the map kind of Manhattan and where things were placed. So I decided to use that. So that's why you're seeing Central Park and the Chrysler Building, 30 Rock, that kind of stuff. And then down here, I decided to just do an easy label with the letters NYC. Sometimes I do a date roller stamp for this. Because it was only one day, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to write it in. So on the back side here, these are meant to go together. They don't have to, but I tried to keep the colors and theme together. So it's very New York. So you can see over here, I've used a New York sticker. And I will say this paper, I think these are all from the same line. This paper, this sticker, and this card, even these stickers. I think these are from the same sticker sheet. They're all from the same set, which really helps because then it looks like they go together. So here I just talked about my decision to go and why I was going. Originally I was going alone, but then my friend was able to join me. So you will see her probably in some of these photos. So I just talked about that. And then I was staying in Queens this time in Long Island City. So if you've never been to New York City, Queens is one of the 5 boroughs, and Long Island City in Queens is just 1 or 2 subway stops off of Manhattan, if that helps you orient yourself. So you cross the river, 1 or 2 stops. So it's a really quick ride on the subway, which was the point. And it often is cheaper than staying in Manhattan. And since we only had one night, we really wanted to keep our budget for Maine. So we decided to stay in Queens. So here you can see this was my route from JFK to get the subway and then get over there. So I did that. That was all well and good, very easy. And then you can kind of see my subway shot as I was going down because I needed the E-train. So I caught that as well. And then I was there before my friend. She flew into LaGuardia. So I was coming in from a different airport. I made it there quite a bit before she did. Her plane was a little delayed. So I decided, you know what? I haven't had anything to eat. I'm going to go get a bagel. And I discovered there was a deli and a bagel place right down the street. Next block. So I went down there, just got a plain bagel with scallion and cream cheese, which was perfect. It's so hit the spot. I love bagels, but I especially love them in New York. So that was perfect. And then I happened to have this card also from this same set, and it had a bagel on it. So why not use it? And then on this side, I had a 4x8 card that said "Ate this," and on a different sticker sheet, I had this that said "I love bagels." And I thought, well, that's perfect because I'm talking about the bagel I had. And then on the back, I cut down the menu that they had in the deli. So where I went was LIC Bagels, Long Island City Bagels. And, you know, just a regular corner bodega type place, nothing special, but man, was that good. And holy cow, the choices they had in there for all the different things you can get. So completely full service. And I chose to just get my bagel and then walk out. I ate it in the room when I was waiting for my friend, but I could have stayed in there if I had wanted to. So once my friend arrived, our big thing for the main part of the day was going to the New York Botanical Garden because they had a Van Gogh exhibit happening. So we really wanted to see that. So when we got there, I picked up the map, and I had been there before, but at night. It was for the Nightmare Before Christmas thing. So it was completely dark. So I never saw anything during the day. So this was a completely different experience, and I loved it. I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to go up there. I will say it is particularly lovely in the fall, as you will see. And so here's when we entered. It's the start of the Van Gogh stuff. That was all outside. Well, most of it was outside. And so I have lots of pictures from that. And then here I just used a 4x6 photo, or sorry, 4x8 photo, and then you can see the brochure was a little bit bigger than that, but I utilized what was there. So I didn't cover up this because it had the name. Up here, there was something I wanted to cover up. It was just like hours and general info, stuff like that. I don't need to see that. And I happened to have this sticker that said love, and it was already in the purple, and so I stuck that on there. And then over here, I really was just trying to match the yellow. I love Van Gogh's yellow. There's nothing else quite like it. So I wanted to bring out that bright yellow. And I think I was able to do that in all of the photos as well as the card that I had. This was actually an old one that I put together a while ago and then decided not to use. And it's just been sitting in my stash. So when I got to this, I thought, oh, I can take that out now and actually give it use again, which is great. And then since that had some black and white, I chose to do that here as well. Here are some more layouts, more Van Gogh stuff. And here I just tried to kind of match the aqua and teal colors that were happening. And I think I did pretty well with that. I had a 3D floral set here that matched, and so I thought that's perfect. I want to use that color. So I was able to do that. And I just love this. I love how this all came together. This photo wall thing that they had was gorgeous. And then this was kind of at the start of the botanical garden. So I think we actually saw this first before that, but whatever. I don't care necessarily what order they go in. But it was beautiful to have the palette, the paintbrush, and then because it was a sort of a muted purple, I grabbed this too along the way. That worked. And then here I just got lucky that I had a card that had some of that purple in it along with the green. So I did some quick journaling and called it good. And then a lot of these upcoming layouts are just moving around the garden. So here's a different one where they have this frame set up with some wild plants growing out of it. That was super cool. And so again, I just tried to match the colors I was seeing. So lots of green, some purple, different shades there. And then I just found some stickers with phrases that I thought worked, and I added those. But relatively simple considering. And then over here, I knew I had to do some photo collages because I just had way too many pictures. I think I took over 100 pictures just at the botanical garden. So there's no way they were all going in here. I had to cut back somewhere. So this one I chose to focus on the sunflowers. So I got this little tidbit from the sign placard thing that was stationed in that area. I had this in my digital stash, so I used that. And then I just found some flowers that matched. And then I actually had these little wooden pieces that were sunflowers. So how could I not use them here? And for this one, the way we came into the gardens, we kind of approached the main conservatory from the back with the way that things were laid out for this. So this was my view as we just came around a curve in the path, and it was stunning. It literally stopped me in my tracks. And so I thought, I have to get a super good photo of that. And I'm lucky that I was able to capture that. And this was just the camera on my phone. I didn't do anything special. But because this was so beautiful and so large, I decided just to do this little corner for embellishing, and that's it. And then over here, I did go a little more jazzy with this one. I did combine, and I did a photo collage so I could get 4 photos in there. But I had a couple of chipboard embellishments left, and this was one of them. And I thought, well, that's perfect. There are pumpkins in every shot. So I used that in the middle. And then I did a glorious mix of sequins. I think this is one of my favorite that I've ever done. The colors just ended up matching perfectly. And look at this. I was even able to use this big piece that I've had for a while. I'm like, that's huge. How am I ever going to use that? Like, it's going to look weird. I think it actually works in here. So that worked out well. And of course, because these are back to back, I had to match that to what was on this side. And look at that. I don't know that I could have made a more perfect color match between these and this. And then here all I did was I put in almost a clear piece of acrylic. It's slightly yellow tinted, but it's mostly clear. But I thought that was perfect because we're really looking at all the trees here. So I love that one. More Van Gogh on this side. The irises that he's very famous for. Now these obviously are not irises, but the colors matched. And I have so many of these 3D flowers that I bought. I'm trying to use them up as best I can. And the color worked really well here, so I used it. So on this side, this was another thing set up for the Van Gogh exhibit. You can kind of tell it was very pink. And so I decided, all right, I was wearing kind of a coral cardigan, but it wasn't too far off from these colors. So I thought, well, that works, I think. So I made a pink background. I used this out of a sticker book I have that's all floral stuff. Actually, all of these phrases came from that, as did this sticker. And I just happened to have in my scraps a piece of yellow paper that had a floral design on it. So pretty perfect. Then over here, I loved this entryway into sort of a partially inside area. So I wanted to use that. And then they don't have to go together, but I just didn't want them to clash. And I thought, all right, well, this stuff all works. A little bit of green there. The colors in the flowers match this as well as over here. So I figured that was a safe bet. On this side, I actually found this digital template in Canva. And so it just looks like a ripped piece of paper in the middle. And so I thought, well, I have 2 enlarged photos I can easily drop in there. So I did. And I went yellow and orange to kind of bring out those tones. And then I happened to have this piece of chipboard and the colors were in there. And I thought, I love the bright cheerfulness of it. I'm going to use it. And then over here, I kept with that brighter theme again because the yellow matches, even though the rest of this does not. It's doing its own thing. But I loved this bright kind of fuchsia, pinky purple. So I worked that in as much as I could. This was just the perfect embellishment for that. And then here we were outside for a little bit, and just the things that were blooming at the end of October still. New York has more temperate weather. Like here, most of our stuff, other than like late blooming dahlias, most of our stuff was dead. But in New York, look at this. Things were holding steady. And this was the 23rd of October. So we were lucky that we got to see all that. And for this one, I didn't feel like it needed much. I wanted to bring out the red hues there. And so I just went with this puffy sticker. And I felt like that was enough. It didn't need a phrase label up here. I thought about it doing a phrase strip, but I don't think it needed it. And over here, again, another 6x8 collage. But look how many photos I fit in there. I fit in 6 photos. That's far better than having, 3 extra layouts to get that all in, I think. And because I had kind of the orangey palette happening in all of the photos, I went with that orange and then orange kind of yellow. So it worked out well that I just happened to have things that matched with it. And then on the back side, our last photo, I decided to enlarge that to a 6x8 and go full photo. And all I wanted to do was something very simple. I chose to just do the date. One little puffy sticker to kind of match what was happening here. And I'm very pleased with that because I feel like this is so beautiful that it speaks for itself. So after we left there, we took the Metro North train right from the Arboretum, the Botanical Garden. So we could go quite a bit south on that. Then we had to switch to the subway, which is fine. So this is where we got off on the subway because we had a 4:30 reservation at Oscar Wilde. And this was the closest stop. So we got out here and then we walked a little bit. And then this was just an art piece on the side of a building that I saw, a fat pigeon. I think it's supposed to be a pigeon. It's New York after all. And I thought, well, that is quintessential New York. So I just used this little sticker that I had, kind of matched his eye, and called it good on that one. But I wanted to include it. And then here I just did a 4x8 of this. I was able to catch a stunning picture of the city from where we were. And it was kind of golden hour then, getting late because it was the end of October. So daylight savings had already happened. It was getting dark sooner. And I just really caught this in the best light. And then I've had this acrylic piece for a while. And I knew I was probably going to use it for New York. I just didn't know how. So it worked out very well that I had this kind of big empty space up there and I could just slap that on there. And so then we start our Oscar Wilde layouts. There are several. This is a postcard that you can get right at the front desk when you check in for your reservation. So I grabbed one of those and I just chose to do some washi and this little puffy sticker up here. Because I really wanted the name to jump out so it's clear where we were. And then over here, this was the outside on the front door, the Wild Haunting, because they are known for decorating for the seasons. So we were there during their Halloween decoration. Shortly after this, they switched over and it became Christmas. So now I can say I've done it. I've had the full Halloween experience. And then because I had this full 6x8, that allowed me to do another collage over here which I did. And actually, I'm going to be honest, I had a photo in here and I screwed up. I realized after I had it printed and it arrived that the photo I dropped in there was upside down. I didn't want to have to redo it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take a 3x4 card and put it over the top. And you can kind of tell, but it's not bad. And I just put my, little pieces of ephemera on, and I think it worked out okay. So for this one, I have to move it over a little bit because this is a flip out layout. I think this is the only one I have in this section. So I have this. This is, again, all the photos are from Oscar Wilde. So here's the inside, showing this was on our table. You get a hint of the decorations here. Very spooky, very creepy. And I wanted to be able to use some fun cards with that. And I just talked about the drink I had. I had the one called the Florence Welch, and it was delicious and very photogenic, as you can see. Then I have more shots from inside Oscar Wilde. This was my friend's drink. Yes, it came with popcorn like that. It was made that way. I've never seen anything quite like that. And very neon green. And she said it was good. So, fun stuff. But I thought, hey, I know I have green in some of these photos. So I tried to pick out ones that had that somewhere and utilize those. And then I had this purple paper that actually has like some sparkle to it. I don't know that the camera picks that up the best, but it does. And I thought, well, that's perfect to go with this. And I have a set of stickers that are all about Halloween themed drinks. So that was perfect. Here for the booze. Yes, the pun's intended. I love it. And then I had this little piece that just said creepy. Perfect. And over here, these go together. This could be a single, but I made it so that it would kind of match. So I used the bright green background to match that. I've got the darker purple. We've got that happening. And then I just used a business card that I picked up there. A couple of enamel dots. Slapped this on there. And that was pretty much all it needed. So when we were done at Oscar Wilde, we only had a crudité platter with some hummus when we were there. So we were quite hungry. But we both had shows that night. I was going to Hamilton and my friend was going to Hell's Kitchen. So we decided, we're just going to grab a New York slice because we can find that pretty much anywhere. So we went into a place called Crave. They had other things too, but pizza was why we were there. And you can see they had them all laid out there. So that was perfect. Carve. I said Crave, I think. Carve. Right on a corner, so it was easy in and out. And I'll tell you, it was packed in there. There were tables, maybe 8 to 10 tables inside, like 2-person tables. We couldn't even get one of those because it was so full. So we did a typical New York thing. We just took it outside and ate it standing on the sidewalk. And then here is Hamilton, obviously. This was outside, and I am a huge Hamilton fan, so I was super excited about this. Not only just because I love the show in general, but because this was during the run when Leslie Odom Jr. came back to play Aaron Burr. That's the whole reason why I bought the ticket. So that's coming up shortly. So here we have my playbill. I cut off the front. It was a little too big to fit in here, so I cut off the front and trimmed it down a little bit so it fit better. And I had this glittery 6x8 paper available. So I put that in the back. I added this right here. And you can see it says Hamilton because it's part of the 10th anniversary. So very unique. My other playbill does not say that, obviously. And then over here, I just grabbed some pictures before the show started. And then during intermission, I have a Hamilton set of cards even. So I used one of those. Kept with that star theme and used a foam sticker there that was super, super glittery. And then obviously I did not have my phone on again till the end. So here we are with them taking their bow. So there's Leslie right there. I still can't believe that happened, that I actually saw him in person. It's kind of crazy to me. But I used another one of my Hamilton cards there, again with the stars, keeping with that theme. And then I just talked about why I bought the ticket and how excited I was to see the show. So both of our shows got out about the same time. We were done about 15 minutes apart. We met up when we were done. And then we had an 11 o'clock at night reservation for Magic Hour, which is inside the Moxie Hotel. And it's always themed. So again, we were going up because we knew it would be fall themed. So here you can see these all go together and match. They have a purple theme, which I absolutely love. This was just the hallway when you walk in. It was nicely decorated, creepy vibe and all that. And then here was up top. You could see that was one of the views we had. So not only do you get good drinks, but it has a nice view. There were some tables there, and I loved this. I actually have a set of drink stickers that fit this perfectly. A little bit of orange, a little bit of purple. Great for Halloween. And then here's the other part. They have this showpiece kind of in the middle that they decorate, and it turns. And you can sit there. There were people sitting on the bench at times, going around as it turned. We chose not to do that. We wanted to sit at a stationary table and enjoy our drinks. You can see what we have right here on the table. I actually ordered two. My first one was horrible. It's supposed to be pear. They either did something wrong or it was just not a good mix of ingredients because it was so bad. Like I couldn't take more than a couple sips. So I sent that back, which I rarely ever do. Ordered another one. Loved the second one. So the staff was cool about it, which I appreciate. And I ended up with a good drink. But here you can see all the fun decorations. So they kind of had a mix of floral and pumpkin / Halloween. And then here's another one of those stickers because the colors matched with the drink, which was awesome. And then over here, I didn't feel like I needed to really journal anything, so I chose a 4x8 card that just had a nice background that would fit with this. And since it was October, that worked. I did add this on. It didn't come with that. I had this little thing, and I love that it had some gold foiling because it made it jump out more. And then on the other side for this 4x8, this is the view you get at Magic Hour of the Empire State Building. And they had it lit up green at that time. So I chose to use green up here, green and gold, kept with their color scheme. And it actually worked out really well because then these photos of where we went to eat after also had a lot of green in them. So because we had the crew today platter at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, then we had one slice of pizza each. That's all we had. We were hungry again by the time we were done at Magic Hour. And guess what? It's New York. Stuff is open all night. So we headed back towards our hotel, and this was, I think, maybe 3 blocks from our hotel, El Gallo Negro. So we went in and had some great Mexican food, and we had good tacos, street tacos, and we had guac and chips. It was fantastic, and even better that we could get it at 1 o'clock in the morning. So you can kind of see here, I just used some washi up there, and then I put our rating up there. It was kind of a hole-in-the-wall place, but we loved it. Very satisfied with it. Minimal embellishments. And that was kind of all we needed there. And then it's off to our hotel. We were so tired after that. We were ready to go to bed. And our hotel was lit up like this. Kind of pretty. I loved all the colors. And I knew I had things that would match. So I pulled out this, cut it down to fit on the card, take a break. I had just nice purple scraps in my stash of stuff, and so I used those in the background. I put on this business card that I had. I had to go sideways, but that's fine. I didn't want to cut it down to fit the other way. So I did that, and I just did some journaling to close it out. And then after that, we were asleep, got up the next day, and went on the train towards Maine. But now you can see everything I did for that one day in New York, and I love New York, so it's always fun to scrap it. So I hope you'll come back when I start scrapping about Maine. Thanks for watching.